Okay, well, after 3 hours of staring at the Zoom screen, trying to figure out where is the record button, I think we're live. And by live, I mean to say we're recording what is this episode? How do you say 100 in Hebrew, Roman? What's the term?
We could
Sent
just one hundo.
yeah. Okay. We're going to go ahead and shout out to our rap origins from the 90s when we were in high school. Thank you, Olivia, for the shout out to the hundo. Anyway, speaking of being off the rails out of the gate here, this is episode 100 of the Body Beauty Show. And I am joined by, I wish I remembered a single Greek goddess, no less two of them from my history classes from 300 years ago. But I'm joined today by what could be, what's the equivalent for Bonnie and Clyde except mother and daughter? Phoning a friend.
Lori
Um,
and Olivia.
Oh, that's right. Lori and Olivia. That's right. Okay, well, that's fun. We're joined today by, and by we, I mean we, and that means me. Wow, this is a hell of a start to a show. I'm joined by Lori and Olivia. They are what you might say experts in their craft, the dark arts, the light arts of cryotherapy and other things of which we're going to get into today. Now, here's why today's going to be an absolute delight and the like is their mother and daughter. And I've never done this, so I don't know what I'm getting into. This could be a food fight. There might be SpaghettiOs involved. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. That's a reference and shout out to food fights. Who uses SpaghettiOs for that? Tomatoes. There we go. Anyway, so let's do this thing started. Olivia, why don't we start with you? Let's do either the 30 centimeter or 30,000 foot overview of who you are, what you do. And then I'm going to give it to your mom because mom's always right. She'll introduce herself and then we'll see where we go from there. So Olivia, over to you. Who are you? How do we end up here? What do you do?
Well, hello. I am Olivia Fuller with Crystal Cryo. So I own the only cryotherapy spa in Ocala, Florida. And I am just a go-getter. So I've never been a quitter. I'm real high energy, love getting myself into new things, love to learn. That's like my favorite thing ever because you can never just stop. And I'm just an all-around good time.
Well, I'm a little nervous when you say I like getting into new things, which is generally code for I have a very storied history from my childhood involving running from the police during prom, when I was egging police cars and what have you. We'll get into all that today. The good news is your mom is here to tell the truth and speak candidly on your history, but you are the owner of Crystal Cryo. That's exciting. And you, I might say, I think I will say it, in fact, in your show notes, pre-show notes, whatever the heck you want to call them, bits, there's a word. You said that you, I don't know, didn't know what to do with your life until you found CryoSkin, which is a remarkable statement and one that we'll drill into down the line. But we'll put a brief pin in that to introduce your mother. So Lori Dennis, you are, in the words of Olivia, responsible for the fruit of your womb, which is Olivia, aka you're her mother. But what else do you do? You own, I believe, something involving a V and an O, health something, something, something.
so Olivia and I are both the owners of VO Health Partners. By the way, I'm Lori Dennis. I knew nothing about cryo either until one of my girlfriends became a certified cryotech through Artemis. And she's like, hey, Lori, you got to check this out. I bought a package from her. I was going into Orlando, which is about an hour and a half from us here, where we are in Central Florida. And I just fell in love with the results. So Olivia and I have owned this health related company together. But I own an insurance agency. I'm an independent agent. I own an insurance agency. I've got multiple divisions within that insurance agency. I have been in the insurance business for 33 years now. And so I am the insurance guru of the family. And I remember Olivia going, ew, I don't know what you do, but whatever it is, it's boring. And I never want to do that. And I'm like, well, it's feeding you. It's, you know, you've got a cell phone in your hand. Granted, it may have been a flip phone at the time, but still, she's like, oh, I never want to do that. And so here we are. I have been an agency owner for a couple of years, but in the business for a long time. And she decided to navigate in a whole different direction.
So Olivia did not take up the mantle of, I want to be just like my mommy when I grow up. She said, you know what? I like to get into new things.
Yeah, so we'll call it get into new things. No, she did everything opposite of her mother just to prove a point, I think, but it all worked out quite well.
Yeah.
See,
Olivia,
she
care to
agrees.
comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Care to comment? Anything in response to that, Olivia?
No, we're so right. I was going to make my own way, some way, somehow. And so I was like, well, if I just do everything the exact opposite, then it won't be exactly like how my mom did it. And so then nobody will refer to, oh, that's how your mom did it. No, she didn't. I can guarantee that.
So, Olivia, at what point? Actually, let me ask a question like this. Talk me through who came up with the idea for Crystal Cryo, and what happened and what was happening just before the idea came to mind.
So I had been bartending and I've been in the restaurant industry for like 10 years at that point. And so I went to work one day and I quit. I was like, hey, it's like mid shift. And because like I had been trying to talk myself out of quitting, like all that shift. And it got to like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, I'm kind of over this. I'm done. So I went up to my manager and I was like, hey, I quit. And they were like, what? And I was like, well, I'm not going to come back tomorrow or the next day or the one after that. Like, I'm pretty much just done. And so I called my mom the next morning because it was late by the time I got out of there. And I was like, hey, I quit. And she was like, okay, sure. And so at this point, she hadn't been going down to Orlando yet. So like at this point, we'd never still heard of cryo. And so I was like, okay, well, like I got to figure something out. I need a career. I need to figure out how to make money because we all need money. And so then I did the one thing that nobody ever expected is I got my insurance license. And I started working for them. I did do it. And so I started working for my mom's agency. And then I just really came to the conclusion of I really don't like insurance because I was just so bored. And then my mom calls me one day and she was like, hey, I'm driving to Orlando to get cryo. We should open a business. And I was like, hold your horses. I know you're really excited. I'm happy for you, but I've never heard of this. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know if this is some voodoo stuff. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And so I was like, let me look into it and we'll talk later on in life. And so then I think it took me about 2 weeks to really like research it and like dive in and make sure it wasn't like a quack kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Olivia likes to snuff out my candle a lot. I thought she was snuffing my candle. I'm like, no, don't put out my fire. I'm super excited about this. She's like, all right, Mom.
Okay, so hold on. So Lori, you had a treatment of cryoskin. Thought, oh my God, we have to start a business. You called Olivia. Olivia, honey, we need to start this business. Olivia's reaction is, no, Mom, anything you say, I'm going to do the opposite. And then she stopped and thought, oh, wait a minute. I hate insurance. I hate bartending. Let's look into this. So tell me more beyond that point. I'm assuming that that's correct so far.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I spent about 2 weeks and I was just looking into it. I had gotten a hold of her friend and was just like asking about it. I went on a deep dive of before and after pictures because I was like, I'm a visual person. I need to see. I'm a millennial. So I need to actually see what this is doing. And then I went on a YouTube rabbit hole, which was beautiful. Love YouTube. But then I was just like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And I really like this. And I was like, and this gives me my own identity of sorts. And so it just really all came together. And so I called her back. Well, we had talked in between the weeks, but I called her back and I was like, hey, we should do it. And she was so excited. She was like, oh my God, we're going to do something together.
Okay, so you went down a rabbit hole. You watched a bunch of YouTube videos.
Mhm.
You were probably tortured to the dulcet.
I watched a few of yours.
Oh, my, the,
Yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah.
I was reaching for a joke there. Nothing came to mind. Sorry to disappoint the audience there. Why are you pausing? Well, I'm trying to find a joke and it didn't work out. That's okay. We're having a good time here. Okay, so you went down the YouTube rabbit hole and you fell in love with Cryoskin. You're visual. You saw the before and afters, and at this point, you look. Let's see, how do I say this? You're probably actually looking up to your mom, thinking, "Damn it, my mom's got it figured out. She's got this awesome agency. Yes, it bores me to absolute damn tears, but she's putting bread on the table." Probably the occasional caviar if you're operating your own insurance agency, and filet mignon and the like. 801 Chop House is my favorite if you want to take me out to dinner at some point, and and what have you. How's that for an awkward interjection? Anyway, moving on.
Dinner on mom.
That's not what I meant. That's fun. And and you realized, oh my God, I look up to my mother, because whether you want to admit it or not, unless you hate your mom, Lori, which would be very bizarre because listeners and viewers on this particular show, literally, I don't know, 12 seconds before Olivia and I were going to start, I said, what if we got your mom on? We called her mom and she jumped out of bed, ran to the studio where she's now on the podcast 5 seconds later. So they obviously have a very beautiful relationship here. Otherwise, Lori would say, no, go to hell, pound sand. I'm not interested. So my suspicion, Olivia, is that you look up to your mother as an archetypal, strong, powerful woman, got her stuff figured out, etc. And you're thinking, God, I can't figure out my own way. I don't want to be like my mom because it's boring to be an insurance agent. I need something to help weave into my identity to craft and shape who I am, who I'm to become, and the like. And you found that with Cryoskin, which sounds like a really cheesy, bizarre pitch or whatever, but it's not. So what happened then? And did I get that right? Or is there any other color you'd add to that?
No, I think that's about right. I always knew she's always paved the way of like independence. Like you could do whatever you want. You just have to put your mind to it kind of vibes. So I was like, I know this can happen. Like it's easy as far as like I've got my mind to it. And so now it's easy for me to just like go forward. I just needed something to put me behind the wheel. I needed something to be behind.
It's never easy. So the audience knows everything's hard.
Yeah.
It can be simple, but not easy. What changed in your headspace, and unpack that statement?
I was excited. Like I was truly excited to jump into this industry and learn more and really make a change. So like I've always been one of those kids growing up that like I want to help everybody. I want to do everything for everybody. I want to make people like I just genuinely want to make people happy. And so through Cryoskin, that was a way for me to do that. Because I can go in and I can resculpt your body. I can change your skin completely, revitalize it, rejuvenate it, and that makes people happy. So I was excited because I could really make a change.
A life devoid of meaning and meaningful work is a life not worth living. And it sounds, yeah, right. And it sounds like you found that vehicle through Cryoskin, which it's not like the machine is the thing that is the meaningful thing. It's the conduit for the propagation of your purpose, your mission. You found that. That's amazing. Lori, is there any, well, I'm sorry, Olivia, you were mid-sentence and I cut you off 16 times. So let me shut up and
no, you're okay.
So what happened? What happened then?
So we went down south and we got certified, and then the whole, okay, she knows how to build a business, but like all the logistics end. So it was really cool to go through that process together because she's like, okay, we got to do A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, wow, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of signatures. But it was really cool to just go through the process together of like, okay, this is how you just be a business owner. And so that was really, really fun for me. Like just going through the process.
Had you run a company prior to this, Olivia?
No. Oh no. I was described as the worst employee ever, to be exact.
That may have been by your mother.
But yet your
And
mother
other
loved you so
supervisors.
much, she hired you despite that. Wow. Case in point, you guys have a fantastic relationship. That's incredible. Wow. So you were the worst employee.
So hear me out.
I'm gonna hear
I
you.
was okay.
Go
I
ahead.
was good at my job, right? So anything listed in the job description, I was great at. I did it to a T. People were happy. But if it was outside of my job description, I would be the employee to pull up my job description and be like, "You're not paying me for that. I'm not doing it." Um,
I'm what's called not a team player, aka the worst
yeah,
kind of
I
employee. Yeah,
mean,
fair enough.
you got to take care of yourself, especially in the restaurant industry, because you will get used and abused. Once you start telling them yes, great, they're going to ask you to do 900 more things and you will just be used and abused. So I'm like, no, this is my job description. This is what I'm paid to do. If you would like to pay me more, as in double, then maybe we could talk. But if not, I'm just not going to do that.
Selling yourself a
And
little
as
short versus
annoying,
double.
yeah, and Austin, as annoying as that used to be to me as a parent, because I was the one going, Olivia, you need to be a team player. You know, I'm trying to teach her all these professional ways to handle things. And that's not how I would handle it in my generation, but it's that attitude that also makes her a great business owner. She is strong and she is very eloquent in the way that she says things. And I've learned that her being as direct as she is something that I lack. So we balance each other out well in that. She's got a little bit more of a direct way about her.
I often wonder to that point if you can look at one's personality traits. So it could be the Myers-Briggs, the big 5 personality traits, specifically looking at things like agreeableness, conscientiousness, industriousness,
Mhm.
and forecast whether someone's going to be an outstanding entrepreneur or not. And my suspicion, and I'm sure there's answers to this, but my suspicion is that, in a word, the people that are most likely to be successful as an entrepreneur are the recalcitrant, meaning those that are, maybe a better way of saying it is they're little hell raisers. They're willing to say no, A, and B, they're willing to swim against the grain and maybe sprinkle a little bit of authority. Ugh, no thanks. I'll make my own way. Is that a fair assessment, would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we were on the Artemis podcast, not the Describe Your Personality Trait podcast.
My favorite colors are, and my disc profile is dominant. What are the, anyway, yeah, it is interesting. I do recall looking at the Myers-Briggs personality test and looking at the ENFP personality type, for example, and that is one of the best, whatever that means, spectrum word, entrepreneur types. But I'm also thinking more specifically about the big 5. And I do recall something on industriousness and conscientiousness. But anyway, whatever the case, there's something to be said about that. You found your way. That's awesome. So now that I have this context, I think what we should do with the show is let's put a theme around it. Since we spent all of literally 3 seconds preparing, which is beautiful because it's going to make for this magnum opus. The magnum opus of the Body Beauty Show is about to happen, listeners, viewers, and people chiming in via fax machine from wherever you are in the world today. Okay, here's what I want to do. You could say the world is undergoing a very, very bizarre set of transformations happening at these various intersections. Okay. Technologically speaking, you could say, so let's look at, I don't know, Chat GPT, for example, right? Everybody who doesn't live under a rock. Yeah. That's the joke. Our overlords, AI and Chat GPT at OpenAI and what have you. Never mind the 1,000 other AI tools that are found on something Futurepedia. That's what it is. I think that's the site. There's a massive technological revolution happening right before our eyes. And that's going to disrupt God only knows what. Everything, probably. Never mind the currency revolution. You could look at Bitcoin or other big macro trends that are happening. Ray Dalio's big debt cycle. You could look at the, well, I'll spare the listeners because this is a show on aesthetics. There's a lot changing in the world today and transformations happening everywhere. So what I would like to do is, if this idea is predicated on Naval Ravikant's idea that, I think this is his exact quote, is something like, currently there are 300 million businesses or whatever it is in the world today. But as society becomes more fragmented and technology and the internet, for example, reaches everyone on the planet, because it's not fully adopted across the globe, with the internet in particular, we will eventually have, at least in his view, ideally, in the ideal state, 7 billion businesses. So what the hell am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is, I believe, and tell me if you disagree, that we are on the precipice of people being liberated to operate in creative ways where they can express themselves, they can contribute economically in different ways that are uniquely tailored to them. Blah, 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 blah. What the hell am I saying? I'm essentially saying that I believe that we are on the heel, or at the knee of the S-curve of entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurship exploding, because now we can utilize these different channels like Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and blah, 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 blah. And so full circle, what the hell am I getting to? I think we're on the precipice of an explosion of people getting into entrepreneurship. And today there are probably 1 million Americans. Yes, it's a round number and it's not exact, and you can argue that and what have you. But there are, I don't know, 1 million Americans today that are trapped behind a cubicle at an accounting firm, maybe Deloitte or what have you, or maybe worse from Olivia's perspective, stuck at State Farm doing agency work as an insurance agent. God bless Lori's heart.
Hey, listen, Linda.
Yeah. Shout out to that video. That's a funny video. And evidence of a lack of parenting in America today. Shout out to Linda there. We're on the precipice of an explosion in entrepreneurialism or entrepreneurship, where people trapped behind a cubicle, the gal working at State Farm, Hartford Insurance, pick your poison, Deloitte, whatever, that's been dying to get into aesthetics, now has the means to do that. Now, when I say now, of course, that's always been the case in some sense, but I want to make this show, 3-hour preamble aside, I want to make this show a siren call to the entrepreneur that's living in America today, Olivia, that was in shoes just like you, maybe working at a bar. Maybe they're like Austin was in the year 2006 through 9 when he was a server at Red Robin. Oh my God, throw me off a building. That was terrible. Okay. God bless their hearts for their work, as we need servers at Red Robin. But I want to make the show about you and helping budding entrepreneurs unlock themselves so that they can find the same success, which I'll define in a second, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, that you did. Okay. Now, success in this term, I mean this in the Nightingalean, so Earl Nightingale, his book, The Strangest Secret, defines success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I believe you found that, whereas many don't. And so let's help. Here's the point. Okay. This is where I need the both of you. Let's help unlock some entrepreneurs that are starving to get into entrepreneurship in the aesthetic space with your insight, wisdom, and learning, so that they can reduce the latency between A and B. So A being at Deloitte or the big 4 accounting firms or whatever, and where you are today. So where do we start if that is our objective, assuming you agree that that is a hell of a topic to make today around it? Because we not only have your perspective, Olivia, we have the wise woman that is one 29-year-old, I might say, Lori Dennis. So Olivia, where do we start?
Start with your why.
Okay.
So why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why do you want to own your own business? Why? Because if that why is a questionable why, then it's not your why. So it's not for you to where like I knew, like I from the first couple of hours that I was researching cryoskin and Artemis and just everything about it, my why kept growing and I kept adding more things to a list. So if you don't have like a purposeful why, then I think that's one of the biggest deal breakers. And that's going to matter how if you last it out or not. Because
It's very true.
what's going to happen is you're going to drive your motivation more because I've got this huge list of whys. So I wake up every day and I'm like, well, why? Because some days are harder than others. So I'm like, and I can always go back to my why list. Like, okay, I'm in this to make people happy. I'm in this because I'm happy. Like, I can just go back to my why list and be like, yeah, that's why. Let's go. Let's do it again. Let's make this month better than last month.
I heard it said yesterday on a podcast called What is Money by Robert Breedlove. It's a Bitcoin show, so cat's out of the bag. Go check it out. But there was an episode on Nietzsche, which is like, what the hell does Nietzsche have to do with Bitcoin? Well, anyway, why did I bring that up? I bring that up. Here's the segue or the relevance. On the show, the guest makes a claim that everything in philosophy is either a footnote to Plato, everything, or Nietzsche. Okay, so why do I mention Nietzsche? Well, I say that to set him up as arguably one of the most important figureheads in philosophy. But there's a quote from him that you were just singing a song of. In fact, I'm tempted to do this. Should I do this? Yeah, what the hell? Why not?
Just do it. Just do it.
Okay. All right. So on my wall here, now I'm sorry, listeners, you can't see this, but that's okay because I'll talk you through it. So on my wall here, I have a little frame, and on the little frame, Olivia, can you read that there? Is that possible to read?
Yeah, one who has a why can bear almost anyhow.
Oh my God. Okay. Can you unpack that for me, please, as if I'm a space alien, aka Elon Musk?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
That
So yeah, I mean, pretty much what I was just saying. It's just you have to have a why, because if you don't have a why, then you're not going to be motivated and you're not going to care. So whereas if you have a why, you care, so you have feelings about it, so you drive yourself forward when you feel something, compared to just doing it because this is what you decided to do.
It's interesting. This theme comes up almost nonstop on the show. So it's as if, oh, maybe it's true for the listeners that think, no, I don't need that why stuff. I don't need motivation because I'm tough or resilient. Well, newsflash, you're wrong. You need a why. So
Yeah.
Olivia, let's give these people, and actually, no, I want to hear from your mom because your brain is her fault. Okay. Because she made you. So,
I like that. I'm going to start telling people that.
Lori, so I don't know, pretend I'm an up and coming entrepreneur in aesthetics or actually that's fine. And I'm working here's an extreme example. I'm a coal miner and I have one canary and I lost him because he was in the coal mine and he never came out. LOL. Let's say that I wanted to get unlocked and discover my why. What the hell would you tell me to help me find my why that would then lead to success that you've seen in your daughter?
Oh, so number one, your why should make you cry. I've always enjoyed that. Your why should actually make you cry. And it has to be part of your heart. It's got to be deep within. You've got to feel it. My why with starting a cryoskin company and bringing my daughter along for the ride that we've had thus far is because I wanted to see her advance, her grow. I wanted to see her have her own identity. She mentioned that earlier in the podcast. Olivia having her own identity from I remember when she was 2 years old, was always very, very important to her. And a lot of times people would identify Olivia with her mother. Oh, that's Lori Dennis's daughter. Oh, Olivia's going to be in the insurance industry. She's going to follow that path. And it was always important for Olivia to have her own identity. But to be able to see Olivia open up her heart and to recognize other possibilities in life was absolutely, I mean, my why to have. I had always dreamed that someday, ever since she was a young child, that she and I would be in business together. That was a huge dream of mine. So it's like, oh my God, I literally just had a dream come true. One of my other dreams was that she would get her insurance license because, of course, that's been part of my life for a long time. And the day she called me and said, Mom, I just got my insurance license delivered to my email, she said, I got it. I'm like, and of course I knew I was going through the process with her. I knew she was going through the process, but another dream. And it's like, she's just like hitting it. I mean, she's on fire right now in her life. And that's my why. That satisfies my why with all this. She's found her identity. She's her own person. She's a strong business owner. She's found her passion. And I think it's really, really important. It was less important for me and the people that are like my age, my generation, but I think it's really important for her generation, kind of that millennial generation, for them to be passionate about something that they do. And she was trying to find that. It was really important to her, and she was going to continue. She's strong-headed. She was going to continue to look for that until she found it.
Do you guys remember the show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that he
Oh.
said was, don't follow your passion, but bring it with you. Is that something that you've both observed to be true?
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely aren't people to settle. And I feel like when it's kind of one of those things of you talk about it, some people talk about it and they don't do it. To whereas I'm going to do it before I talk about it.
Interesting. So you found a way to, well, you found the way to not have dopamine work against you.
Right.
Because when you share that, hey, I'm doing this, you get the same dopamine rush. I don't know if it's exact same, but I think it's similar to what you would get if you said, hey, guess what I just did? I just closed on a $30 million real estate project doing, self-storage or whatever the heck it might be. Wow, that's very cool. So there's clearly something to be said here about mindset. I'm reminded of the book Think and Grow Rich and psychocybernetics. The theme across all of them is, or even Dr. Joe Dispenza. How about the Bible, right? Habakkuk 2:2, the people without vision perish. There's something to be said about this idea of, figure out what your aim is and then pursue it like an absolute, well, in the words of Mike Tyson, savage. Okay. And so it all begins with selection. And I think you can't select something to pursue relentlessly until you have fallen on your face, iterating, trying, falling, failing, all the while being perseverant. So there's something to be said about mindset. Are there any books that you would say, go read that? That's the book on mindset. And then we'll move on to the next topic.
I'm not a big reader, but I guarantee you my mom has a book.
Hi, paging one Lori Dennis, please. The front office. This is your principal speaking.
So I was just having this conversation with my best girlfriend this morning. She is an avid reader, and she and I have different authors and business coaches that we follow, and somebody that maybe she doesn't think the most of, but I find his especially audiobooks, to be number one, highly entertaining, number two, very, very motivating. Like, I'm taking on the world. It's going to be mine. I'm taking my piece of it. And that's Grant Cardone. I love me some Grant Cardone. And so right now I'm reading the 10X rule again. I've audio booked a lot of his material, and I am a Grant Cardone fan. He will turn you on or he will turn you off. He will do one of the following, on or off. He just happens to turn me on.
Well, we will do our best to ignore the sentence architecture, the last sentence, and proceed to Grant Cardone. Yeah, no, he's great. I don't love his sell stuff, but I do love his mindset stuff, certainly. So I would say that I stand in mostly agreement with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll plug a book. Okay, there's a book called Think and Grow Rich, which is insane. And yes, it's every human mostly that's into self-development is obsessed with that book and read that book. But there's something to be said about really getting clear in your vision, pursuing it relentlessly. And then there's these new guys like Grant Cardone or Gary Vee or Sterling. What's his last name? Sterling something or other. But these guys that talk about, how about David Goggins, for example? Like Jocko, these extreme ownership type guys and gals. I'm sure there's obviously female varieties as well, which I'm not as privy to, but love that. So listeners, check out Grant Cardone's 10X, you said. Is that right, Lori?
The 10X rule. Another one of my favorite authors is Jen Sincero. She writes all the You Are a Badass series. And I've read those books over and over and over and over. You Are a Badass at Making Money. That is the book right there. That will be a huge motivator. You can do it. You are responsible for your outcome. And like I told Olivia when she was 2 years old, baby, you can be anything you want to be. You put your mind to it, be anything you want to be. So those are really great motivational authors to just kind of keep in your ear. I don't listen to a lot of music. I really am listening to motivational material when I get a chance for some downtime.
That's amazing. Yeah, you've got to get your mindset right. You got to pick an aim, and I love to hear that you have that. And Olivia, you have that by proxy from your mom, which is awesome. So you have access to the fountain, shall we say. Love that. All right. Well, we could spend an entire episode exploring all things mindsets, and maybe we should at some point. But I would love to pivot. Okay. So I want to get strategic is a little bit perhaps more challenging, but let's get a bit more tactical on how maybe it's a bit of both. Okay. You decide you want to start a business. Okay. And Olivia, you said that your mom is a super weapon at building businesses. So let's pivot into that, what it even means to build a business, how to get started. So I'm sorry. Geez Louise. Let me start over. I want to start with how you literally started the business. And then let's unpack some of the ways that you can intelligently go about building the business. So Olivia, I'll turn it over to you to share how you got started, chose a location, and all the other like overcoming the initial inertia bits.
So most of it started with my mom. So the LLC process was mostly her. So I'll like have her talk about that stuff. But what I had fun with was the creative freedom. So I made up the logo once we figured out what the name Crystal Cryo was going to be. And how that came about was, so I like crystals, like the rocks. Um, and my boyfriend's a minimalist, and so I had crystals all over the house. It, was cool. Are you there?
Oh, there we go. And the
You there?
video is back. Okay, what is going on here? Come on, video. What is going on here? Okay, we should be good.
You're there.
There we are. Okay, back to you.
Okay. So my boyfriend's a minimalist, so I just had these crystals all over the house. And so I got to have a lot of the freedom as far as like the logo and the name goes. So I'm like sitting there one night with him and I'm like, babe, I don't know what to call this business. Like I got a whole list. Mind you, Crystal Cryo was not on my list. He just completely ignored my list of names. And he was like, name it Crystal Cryo and take all the crystals out of the house. But crystals are formed in the earth because it's cold. It has to be a certain temperature of cold for crystals to form. The only reason why we find them is because they're unearthed by the earth warming up. So I was like, that's cool. You put two and two together. So then my mom gave me the freedom to build the logo, which I had so much fun with. Um and then so with the insurance agency, she already works out of this one space called Workspace Collective. So it's a co-working space and they offer like open memberships, private desk memberships, private offices, shared offices. And so she's already been working there since 2019, right? Like right when they opened. And they just so happened to have a space coming available at the same time that we were going through the process of opening the business. And so we're good friends with the owners. And we're like, hey, we want that. So it's this beautiful like 15 by 15 room, and just I had most of the fun part of just decorating and designing. And then she did all the things that you should do when you open a business.
Okay. So she unleashed your inner creative spirit, let's say, the logo and the like. Lori, I guess here's the question. What do you advocate that new business owners be aware of as they launch a new business?
So I would definitely suggest somebody who wants to get into business, form their own company, that they talk to another small business owner who's successfully done it. Doesn't matter if that small business owner is an insurance agency owner, some type of small business agent or small business owner, maybe through their local chamber. Their local chamber is a great way to connect with all things small business, and probably somebody at the chamber will give them some direction in how to form their company, how to make sure they're going to get the smallest amount of tax liability, what kind of receipts to keep, all these things that are going to come around right after the first of the year. And you're going to have to gather all this information because corporate taxes have to be filed by March 15th. That affects your personal taxes. It's having somebody who will kind of serve as your coach as you open this business that can give you some direction. Here's one thing that I'm not good at. I'm not good at the creative part of things. Olivia got the creativity. I swear to God, she's my child. She is my child. She was not switched at birth, but she got all that creative stuff out of the DNA. I didn't. I mean, she writes poems, she draws, and she makes it sound really easy that, this logo development and everything, I did my creative thing. Oh, don't you think I did not X several different ideas? Olivia's like, Mom, are you kidding me? So I was there and I kind of oversaw everything. I'm like, nope, you can't do it this way. Nope, you can't do it this way. She's like, Mom, I'm like, but I have my reasons. And I explained them to her. Right. So we did have a very interesting, very fun, a few times challenging process of making sure the foundational parts of our cryo skin business were laid firm. We wanted that foundation laid firm. We didn't want to go back and have to change our logo or change our fonts or whatever. But we also were very aware of the financial investment that we were putting into all these things, and that we needed it done quick. We needed to open the doors. We needed to get our practice time in. So
She
we
was
made
my
it happen
coach.
fast. We made it happen really, really fast. But when you have a partner, whether your partner is your daughter, your son, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your best friend, um, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. If you are your own person making all the decisions, make sure and rely on another small business owner to help you through all those decisions, because those decisions can come back to haunt you, when it's tax time, when, you've got to pay some bills, or the rent comes due, all the financial things. So, and then and
My
like Olivia said, you go back to your why too. You go through some hard times where, maybe it's around, a time of spending, or people are concerned about their taxes. You go through peaks, hills and valleys. And so you have to learn how to be a business owner in so many different ways.
And that's why she's my coach.
How did you get your first customer?
My first customer actually is one of my mom's friends. So Ocala is one of those places where it's starting to become a big town, but it's a very small community. I mean, everybody knows everybody, and that's why we love Ocala. Because you can go anywhere and you can see someone that you've probably grown up with, or just they've known you since you were little. So really, really just dug into our networks. Between her and I, we've got thousands of friends and people that we know around the community. And so we just talked about it. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what it does. This is the benefits. We just really educated what we're doing and just kind of went from there.
And I'll say our first two clients were guys.
Yeah.
They're men. It wasn't even the women who were the first ones kind of pounding down the door.
How did you compel them to come in? I mean, I'm assuming it was just, hey, John, got a cool new thing. Check it out. He came in and was blown
I'm pretty
away.
sure they saw our before and after pictures on our Facebook page. Yeah, I think it was just some very organic marketing that we were doing. Nothing, it was just friends like, what are you doing and how can I get in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the beginning, I honed in hard on the social media, and I still do. So the social media is like my little prodigy, because it's expensive these days to pay for marketing and a marketing team and someone to do your SEOs and someone to make your post and use the right hashtags and this, that, and the other thing, to where I am very hard-headed, clearly, as we have come to find out through this conversation, that I was like, no, we're not paying someone to do it. No, it doesn't make sense, right? I'm 28 years old. There, at this point, does not make sense. I have 2 cats and a boyfriend that works nights. There is no reason why I can't do the social media. But with that being said, you also have to know what you're posting on social media, the audience that you're trying to capture. You really gotta, it's almost like another job, but social media has been my biggest thing. If you can hone in right on the social media, then you're gonna pique the interest, and from there you're gonna get DMs, you're gonna get phone calls, you're gonna get people texting you like, hey, what did that do? What is this doing? Why should I do this? And once people start asking why, they're already going through their heads of like, okay, this could work for me. So you double down on their why, get them to come in for a consultation. 6 out of 10 times, you're gonna give them a treatment.
You have a 60% conversion rate?
About.
Yeah, it has to be at that.
That's incredible. Wow. Huh. Okay, so let's talk about your revenue path then. So the first month you get the device, you made zero. Your first month of CryoSkin, you made $0.
Negative Ghost Rider.
Negative Ghost Rider. Okay, so we did not make $0 the first month with CryoSkin. What did we make?
I want to say the first month was about $10,000.
Yes.
So server error 404 does not compute. Error code on my Google tab browser message box here. You during the trial period where you get a machine for $0 out of your piggy bank, you just ran off and made $10,000 your first month.
About that,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Houston, I think you just broke the internet. Wow, that's amazing. So month one with CryoSkin is $10,000. What has it been like since? Are you finding that you're banging against the ceiling and you're only making X amount, or has it been a sort of S-curve type growth, or what's that been like?
So on the 10th of this month, we'll come up on 6 months. So it's been pretty up since, because we opened October 10th. It's been pretty up since then. Obviously it's come down a little bit because you're not new anymore. So the excitement of you just not being new anymore, you fall off just a little bit, but we're persistent. We're in so many networking groups. We know so many people. And now that we're 6 months in, we've had, a good, I'd probably say 30 clients that have gone through their packages that are now talking about it. So now we're picking up on the word of mouth. So it's
we're kind of
going.
in a different phase of business, and we're figuring out the phases we're going through. And it's not just, the holidays are done. Now people are not buying gift certificates as much, but now we're coming up on Mother's Day. And then previous to that, it was Valentine's Day. So we're not only learning the seasons to concentrate on, but we're learning what happens when somebody ends their package. So we're still very new at this, and some of the seasons have caused a month to fall off a little earlier than what we had anticipated it would. But you're making notes for the next year when that same month comes back, and what you're going to do, and to get better about those follow-ups. And I'm going to tell you, the fortune is in the follow-up. We've heard that in so many different different business trainings. The fortune is in the follow-up. No doubt in this business, the fortune is in the follow-up. So I go to networking groups. Olivia and I go to networking groups together that we're involved in. She goes to networking groups. When I go to my networking groups, I am getting information for her, and she or one of her certified cryotherapists are following up, and they're very, very, very good, because I've already planted a major seed that is starting to blossom or come out of the ground already. All they have to do is go in and book that consult and get somebody in the door.
Wow.
I'm great at marketing. I enjoy being out there with people. So I kind of cast, a medium net and pull it as many into my net as possible. But, now that we've done so much organic social media marketing via LinkedIn and Facebook, we are, people know that this is part of our life and this is what we're involved in. And they text us, they message me on Facebook. They're like, okay, one of my clients, my insurance clients, emailed me the other day, and this happens often. And I told Olivia, so I call her, get her in for a consult. She's like, I've been doing some cryo research, and I really like the way this works. Olivia, call her, get her in for a consult.
And I've got her coming in next week.
Wow. Fortune is in the
And
polo.
she also knows, I'll tell you, Austin, she also knows if I haven't heard back from her on a particular person that I referred from a networking group or one of my girlfriends or something. I've got a pretty big network. She knows I'm going to ask about it. At some point, it's going to bubble up to the top of my brain again, and I'm going to ask about it. So she always knows what's going on, and Olivia stays very involved in that. And if I don't ask Olivia, I ask Chrissy, in the spa, and Chrissy is on it. So, that training people to care that much for the clients, and, sometimes it's hard to do that. It just has to be inside you.
So that's an interesting riddle to solve for us. How do I get my employees that are paid an hourly rate, oftentimes, to care, to give a damn? Any secrets or insights on how to do that?
You just have to find the right one. It's so hard. It is so hard. Employee retention. Employees suck, and I know that because I was the suckiest employee. So like I am the poster child of like employees suck. You really
Yes.
just gotta find somebody that you can connect with like wholeheartedly, because it's not that I want an employee, I want a family. Like I want to build a base of like, okay, you're gonna come on and like you're gonna stay. Like this is not just, I don't want this to be just someone's job. I want this to be someone's career, and somebody can flourish the same way that I want it to flourish. I want to create an identity for somebody if that's what they're struggling with. So it's really hard, and I think that great ones are diamonds in the roughs.
I agree. I've interviewed.
And we are very, very blessed to have 2 diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, Olivia and I are certified as well, of course, but we have found 2 diamonds that really fit into our organization and what we're building so well.
Wow.
And we are entertaining a second location in 2023. We just want to make sure that the schedule stays filled at this primary location first.
I'm just so shocked, surprised, elated, etc., that you've been able to build this business with literally one machine, from what I can see.
Mm-hmm.
How have you done that?
Yeah.
How did that happen? It's insane. Most spas have 45 different devices, and you have cryo skin. That's it.
Mm-hmm. It's very easily happening these days where it's easy to be distracted. There are so many different services out there. There are so many different things to do. There's just so much to where it can be almost overwhelming in the fact of you just don't really know what to do. So we came to the conclusion that we were just going to stay focused on one thing, and that's cryoskin. Why? Because the benefits are amazing. It's relaxing. It promotes mental health. It literally can make someone's dreams come true. I mean, I had this one woman who went through a package, and she had a bad invasive procedure done. I'm not going to mention the procedure because, but she had a procedure done, and it went very awfully wrong to where one side of her abdomen was not proportionate with the other side of her abdomen. And I was able to go in and actually like correct that to where she's pretty even now. And for her, that was life changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yet again, deeply meaningful work. It's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, we take it very seriously.
Yeah, you just have to believe in what you're doing. I mean, and that was like our biggest thing, or a lot my biggest thing was like I have waited so long to even open a business because I wasn't just gonna open a business. Like that wasn't like my goal. Was to be like, oh my gosh, I did it, I own a business. No, that was like the last thing, like way in the back, was me being the business owner. I just wanted something that was meaningful. So back to my why. Like, why am I doing this? Because I wanted to make people happy. Okay, well, I can make people happy through this one machine.
One who knows their why can bear almost anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Nietzsche. Well, let's start looking at how we can park the car here today. So as we exit the show, what I want to do is this. Perhaps some of the best advice I've ever heard on, I don't know, how to live life is from this one very poor Charlie Munger, aka is fabulously wealthy. He's Berkshire Hathaway's co-chair, I believe is his title. But anyway, it's Warren Buffett's partners at this point. And in this book, Poor Charlie's Almanac, I'm sorry, this is completely wrong. From Nassim Taleb's book, Anti-Fragile, I believe it is. He has this idea, this concept that I think he borrows from, who cares? It doesn't matter. Called via negativa, which is to say, it's easier to navigate life based on knowing what not to do than trying to do all the right things. Okay, what's the order to get my business started? I got to find a location, and then I got to get my LLC. But do I want to do a DBA? What about an S corp? How about my tax structure? Okay, just all that will land where it needs to land. But let's instead talk about concepts that are in line with the notion of via negativa, which is to say, knowing what not to do, basically. So via negativa, via negation, or not doing the thing. So, for example, hey, when you're on a hike, maybe don't go pick up that rattlesnake because it'll kill you and you'll be dead. Or, hey, you see some cubs out there with a big brown death machine on 4 legs called a grizzly bear? Yeah, don't get between her and her cubs because she will rip your face off, your skull or body or what have you. Wherever your face happens to be located. Okay. So here's a question for both of you. I would love to hear, in fact, I will buy you time by way of my responding first to give you more time to think about, okay, what's my answer here? I would love to hear from both of you 3, this is our closing bit here. It's a different way of asking, like, what's advice that you would have for me? 3 different pieces, and hello, Lori's dog. And now we have a new third guest on the show, Lori's poodle. 3 different examples of via negativa of things you should not do when starting a business or operating it now 6 months in, so that we can help those that are just starting, again, truncate that latency between A and B, or that delta, that distance, if you will, via negativa. I'll go first, okay? Number 1, action trumps cognition, or rather action, meaning taking action, is always going to beat endless deliberation and rumination. There's a book on this called The Paradox of Choice. That punchline, it turns out that the more options you introduce, the more paralyzed you become. And the more paralyzed you become, the less happy you are with any outcome that you end up selecting. So, I don't know, call it 3 options. What's my business name going to be? Who cares? Just pick 3 ideas, or go to ChatGPT and have it pick your business name for you. Okay? That's number 1. Action will always win over endless rumination. Second would be where you find yourself functioning like a technician. Stop, pause, document, create an SOP around that, so standard operating procedure around that via documentation, and find a way to make that a system so that you can get out of working into the business and start working on it instead. So be thinking systems. So if you find yourself doing the same damn thing over and over again, first of all, why are you doing it? Hire someone to do it. Eventually, when the time's right, you have the finances to support that. But document the system and then jam it into some sort of knowledge base. So that could be inside of Notion, that could be inside of Guru, that could be inside of Confluence, it could be inside of whatever. So number 2 is systemize the hell out of everything. And if you're an eMyth fan, in doing that, what will happen is you'll be able to create an operating manual for the business, if you will, that you can then franchise A if you want, or B, sell once you reach the valuation that you want and get an exit so that you can have life-changing liquidity to then invest in, what's that? Bitcoin? Oh, that's right. Not financial advice, take your own advice, but that's what some would do. Or Tesla, what have you, okay? And the third piece of advice is, I don't know, because we're going to turn it over to Olivia and Lori. So who wants to go first?
Mom, you can go ahead.
I was going to say, Olivia, you can go ahead.
Oh,
Because
we're already there.
you're in the business every single day. So what would you not do?
What would I not do? So I wouldn't stay comfortable. So there's this YouTube channel called Yes Theory, and their motto is to seek discomfort. So I take that very literally. So if I feel that I'm just sitting there and I'm feeling very comfortable, then I'm not doing something right. Because if you want to be a business owner, then you shouldn't be comfortable. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. Most of the time from what I'm coming to learn. So seek discomfort. Also, don't just throw in the towel because most of the time it is very hard. And quitting is easy. Quitting is so much easier than looking yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, how am I going to make this work? Whether I have to cut expenses or like what needs done differently, but it's figuring out your plan to figure it out because that's going to be harder, but it's also going to be so much more fulfilling. And then run your own analytics. So write down your sales, keep a logbook of everything you do, keep a logbook of who you've talked to, who was interested, who was a no-show, who was a gift, who was a discount. Log it all because you want to be able to go back and run your own analytics of like, okay, what worked for me and what didn't work for me, and who did it work with and who did it not work with.
Well, we're looking forward to your book coming out this fall, Olivia, titled How to Win and Win Again. All right, Lori, over Lori, any reaction to that or any other bits of via negativity that you would insert here?
Yeah, I think one thing that's important is everybody's going to have their opinion, so don't listen to the naysayers. You're always going to have those people that don't understand, don't want to understand, don't want to be educated. There's so many people out there who do, and who do want everything that we have to offer. Don't get, and Olivia alluded to this earlier, get overwhelmed with all the other options and all the different modalities out there that you can offer. We wanted to do one thing and we wanted to do it really, really well. Olivia didn't say there's not any other cryo devices in the local market. But what she did say is we are the only cryotherapy spa in the market. So that's very different, right? We specialize. We don't offer it as an add-on. We just specialize in that. So be careful to evaluate the other options out there and who you really want to be in the end. So, and that's very different for everybody. There's no right and wrong answer. So those are my two things. And, most definitely follow your dreams. Olivia's done that. Olivia's done very, very well. I really let her as her business partner these past 6 months, and her mom. It's hard to give her that full reign, but boy, I tell you what, she's earned it. She's earned the opportunity. I just let her go. She's doing a fabulous job, and I have seen a great deal of growth in her, a person and as a business owner, as a manager over the past 6 months. It's unbelievable. She's a different person than she was 6 months ago. She has learned so much. I am so incredibly proud of her. And that's, once again, my why. I was able to bring Olivia into this world. She can take all those foundational aspects of starting and owning a business and turn it into anything that she wants it to be.
Wow. Seems like a damn good spot to close out the show today. Episode 100 in the bag with the one, probably the only. I don't know. There are 7 billion people on the planet. but the ones actually pluralize. Olivia Fuller and Lori Dennis. Let's put a plug out there for y'all to get connected to by the audience. So where can they find you? I don't know, Lori, maybe they want insurance. So let's put a plug for both of you and we'll close out the show here today, starting with you, Olivia.
Yeah, so you can find us at our Facebook page, Crystal Cryo 27, if you type it all in, or crystalcryo.net.
Cool. All right. And if you want insurance,
So I am a licensed Florida insurance agency, Florida on this particular peninsula. We have some challenges. So I do work with small businesses, farms, and equine related risks. I can be reached at DennisInsuranceSolutions.com and also Dennis Insurance Solutions on Facebook.
and if you're not in Florida, well,
she still knows a guy.
I know a guy.
She still knows a guy.
All right, she knows a guy. All right, well, connect with Lori, connect with Olivia, and plug into their university. It seems like it's worth doing, which why wouldn't it be? Of course it is. Yeah, well, I've enjoyed my time with you both today. It's been awesome, and thank you for sharing your story and the odyssey that you've been on. And Olivia, you are, I always talk about this damn hero's journey diagram, but the call to adventure, reaching the depths of despair, and then finding the light on the other side of that, and reaching the state of which you seem to be at least on the path of, which is that of self-actualization in the Maslowian sense. So kudos to you. And Lori, damn good job making a rock star. All right. So there you have it. All right, you two, have an amazing, beautiful, I don't know, day, week, life, or happy hour, whatever you're doing next. And we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you later on.
Thank you,
Austin.
All right. Bye-bye.